What's up, everybody? This is a little bit of an impromptu Legally Owned America Live on a Monday, of all things. There's a lot going on, a lot. And I kind of want to set some stuff up that we're going to be talking about. First of all, as I try to always do, I want to welcome a lot of you guys into the room. Let me just start from the very top. Thank you guys for taking the time to spend a Monday afternoon with me. Moss Effect, Badger, John Strieber. Let's see, Tim Moore, Kenny let me get it right. Stalter, Family Man, Roddy's Rule, John Strieber. I might have already said that. My apologies if I did. Bruce Welch. Let's see, Rock Shay Jennings. Jenkins. I'm sorry. Opt out of gun control. I like that. Let's see, guys. Uncle Daddy. I'm scrolling through here. Give me a second. Family Man, already said that. Brian Smith, Randy Brown. Gosh, it's scrolling a little too fast for me now. 2326 Texas. Sooners to win. Jonathan Marsh, East Texas Outlaws. Juan Barboza, Waterhead 1. David Causey, Patriot. Perspective, Corey, Carl, Paladina. David Newton, Keeb. Gosh, you guys, it's coming in too fast. She's coming in too fast. Chris Ferrando, Mitch R, Ron Bear. And I know I've missed some people, guys. It's just scrolling too fast right now. Happy to see all of you guys here. I want to go over just a couple things real quick. First of all, yesterday, the video that I put out on the gentleman who was visited in South Carolina by the ATF, where they left their card and he did not speak to them. And I mentioned in the video that I had no intention of speaking with the ATF. And in fact, that he had reached out to a litigation organization or a Second Amendment rights organization to get some legal advice on what he should do with the ATF contacting him. And I mentioned in the video that he said that this organization had told him to surrender everything to the ATF. Now, this company, the name, and I have a video coming out after this. The name is U.S. Law Shield. However, I'm not sure how accurate that information is. Not saying that Mr. X, the guy that I did the video on, not saying that he made that up. There may have been a misunderstanding, or he could have gotten some bad advice from the attorney from U.S. Law Shield, because today I got an official statement, and you'll be able to see it in my video. I got an official statement sent to me from Christy Elrod, Vice President of Communications, and she says, "Hi, Paul. Thank you for the call today and bringing this to our attention. Please see the statement below from our president, Kirk Evans." I contacted them because I found it really hard to believe that an organization who fancied themselves as a Second Amendment rights promoting organization would give such bad advice. I thought that was very bad advice. I'm no attorney, so I'm not one to say what's good or bad legal advice. But from a Second Amendment perspective, it surely seemed like bad advice to me. Excuse me one sec, guys. Sorry. So I reached out to them, and I'm glad I did. And you'll see the video that I put out. Actually, it's probably being uploaded right now. When you get off of this live stream, go take a look at the video, because I go into great detail about the letter that she sent and the official position that U.S. Law Shield holds. So I want you guys to know that. Again, I don't know where the mix-up was, and it's very possible, again, as I state, that my contact, Mr. X, who gave me that information, could have very well been told that by the attorney he spoke to. They did not have any record of the conversation that took place, so they couldn't tell me officially what was said in that conversation, and neither would they have, because it's a attorney-client privilege type thing. Again, I go over all of that in the video. One of the things that I'm mainly wanting to put this video out for also is because in 11 minutes, I'm going to work with you guys to premiere a video from armed attorneys. Armed attorneys is a group of attorneys that, and I'm working on some other stuff behind the scenes right now, so that's why I may seem a little bit distracted here. But Armed Attorneys is an organization that does legal representation and legal work for Gun Owners of America, and they are putting out, and I'm looking at their title right now just to make sure that I get it right. They're putting out a premiered video at 5 o'clock today. That's in 10 minutes, Central Standard Time. And it says major update, armed attorneys, NFA under pressure, made in Texas suppressor lawsuit update. What that means is, and I guess I can get it off of that because we don't need to see that right now. What's happening is the state of Texas has this made in Texas suppressor law, so that if you buy a solvent trap and you go through all the, I guess the requirements in order to turn that solvent trap into a suppressor, then the Texas law protects you as long as you retain and hold that. It protects you from being, I guess, criminally in trouble. Is the only way. I'm no attorney, but from the federal government. So the federal government can't come at you. Now that, just like any other law, is going to be challenged. So the U.S. attorney, Merrick Garland, will obviously come at Texas for that law. They will try to still go after people, just like they're doing right now to everybody who buys a solvent trap, and try to go after them legally to try to prosecute them. So I'm just making assumptions here, but I'm assuming that's they want to go into some detail, and maybe something has changed at this point with that law. But that's the way the Texas law reads right now. So let's see. I mean, who knows? Thank you, Elf FU. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, buddy. I don't know what that is. I know they're premiering the video, and I felt like it was important enough that I needed to share that premiere. I've contacted them, Armed Attorneys. They are actually the legal counsel also for Gun Owners of America, which I'm the Louisiana State Director. So it was kind of cool to make that connection, to see that we actually share some similar legal counsel. So I intend to, again, in 8 minutes, take their premiere, run it through here so you guys can see that premiere, and let's all see together what they are premiering as far as an update on that. So very interesting to me. A lot of this stuff, I know, just so you guys know, John Crump is working on some interesting developments as well. I know that there are some sellers on Gunbroker that it appears that there's some things to suspect right now. Let me just leave it at that. Some information coming out about that. Some people who it looks like, let's just say maybe ATF people. It's one of two things. Either these organizations who are selling these force reset triggers and these solvent traps on Gunbroker, either they are ATF plants or they are ATF period, selling things to set people up so they can get that information to then go after them. Which if it's proven that they're doing that, if the ATF is actually doing that, there's way bigger things that need to happen. Way bigger. Now, will anything happen? I don't know. But you talk about some eyes being opened up even more. The other possibility is that there are legitimate sellers out there on Gunbroker who have sold a lot of items, and they've been compromised by the ATF, probably most likely bullied into giving up their customer list, which would make sense as to why all of these people being visited all seem to have one thing in common, and that is that they are customers of Gunbroker, having purchased things off of Gunbroker, whether it be force reset triggers or these solvent traps. So that's some other stuff that's going on. A lot of stuff going on. It's so weird because even with Washington, D.C., all the swamp creatures over there taking the month of August off. How nice is that to have the whole month of August off? But with all these swamp creatures having the month off, you typically expect this time to be relatively slow. I don't know if because midterms are coming up, that things are popping and happening. I know with Dettelback being in there with the ATF, that he's probably got his foot on the gas pedal right now and just telling them to go after this. Everyone will tell you that the ATF has certainly become way more aggressive here lately within the last year. I think the numbers I read that there are 10 times more FFLs being harassed and people being visited than before. So yeah, some big time strong arming going on right now. Frankenstein Firearms, appreciate you, man. Very, very much appreciated. You guys don't have to do that, but I very much appreciate that. You have no idea. I appreciate it. So yeah, it looks like there's some things going on right now that, in spite of Congress being off and on their little month-long vacation, I mean, let's face it, there's not much damage that they can do whenever they're off, right? We can't be sending gazillions more to Ukraine, or we can't be passing any stupid unconstitutional laws if they're not there. So thank God for that. Sometimes the little things in life we got to thank ourselves for, thank for. Again, 5 minutes to go before this premiere. I just want to make sure that I have this. I'm just going back and checking my stuff. I want to make sure that my screen is good, that I'm ready to roll on that, because I want to make absolutely sure that we all share this at the same time. Yeah, we're good on that. So yeah, I'm going to read some of you guys' comments real quick. Good afternoon to you too. Former son prepping also says hi to everyone else. Let's see. The ATF, excuse me, if the ATF sold triggers, that's entrap and everybody should get their money back. That's the other question that's kind of out there too. And that's from David Newton, by the way. Let me post that question right there from David. That's the other thing. People who are surrendering their stuff to the ATF, you're not getting any money for this. I will mention this also. I spoke to Richard with Armed Attorneys earlier today on the phone. And one of the things that he made a great point was that, and I want to get this right because I'm not an attorney. If you know they know you have an FRT or solvent trap, and what I mean by that is if you have been served paperwork or they have mailed you paperwork, and if they state the specifics of whatever items you might have, then they know you have them. At that point, don't damage them, don't destroy them, because I think there could be some, I guess, considering of you maybe tampering, because that's evidence that you have the letter that there may be an investigation. And if you destroy those items, it could be tampering with that investigation. However, if you have those items, but you have not received a letter and you have not spoken with the ATF, like in this case with Mr. X yesterday, he knows he was visited. He simply doesn't know why, because they left a card asking him to call them. So he doesn't know why they're calling, why they were calling on him. So he could destroy his item if he wanted to, and he would not be tampering with evidence. Again, that's not some official legal advice that I'm giving you. I'm just saying that because of the way the ATF operates, and aggressive as they've been here lately with their intimidation tactics and whatnot, I think it's important that we make sure that we don't just arbitrarily say, hey, you know, do this or do that, because I don't think it's a one size fits all based on your current situation. It is obviously a case by case situation. So I want you guys to know that. I'm very hesitant to put bad information out there. Doc Holliday, man, thank you so much, as well as Kevin Powell. Thank you guys. I don't do this for you guys to donate money to me. However, it is appreciated. And I'll be very honest with you. Any money you give me, I buy ammo with it. That helps me do a lot of my reviews and stuff like that. So it is well spent. I utilize my YouTube dollars to give back to my YouTube channel. Is essentially how I do it. Guys, I'm going to pull up real quick this. Yeah, I want to make sure this stays out there so that I can be sure to, as soon as they premiere, it looks like 1 minute to go. We should be good. I want all of us to watch this together. You too, Frankenstein Firearms. Thank you again, bud. Let me pull that comment down so it doesn't get in the way also. Let's see here. And let's see. Let's just wait just a second here and see. Again, I've got 459. Really interested in this this update. This is something that I feel like we're probably all going to have a vested interest in listening to. So stand by. I apologize for the dead air here, but I don't want to miss the beginning of their premiere. Here we go, guys. Okay, 2 minutes to go. And that's very loud in my ear. Turn mine down a little bit. Again, guys, this YouTube channel is Armed Attorneys, and they are legal counsel for Gun Owners of America also. Gun Owners of America is really good about getting some of the best people out there. So these folks actually do some work for Gun Owners of America. But they also have a YouTube channel. This is what I'm pulling this stream from, Armed Attorneys. So you guys will want to check them out, maybe subscribe to them, because I'm going to pull some information from them, and it'll be great for you guys to have it also. Yeah, hopefully I see some of you guys commenting also. Hopefully this isn't quite as loud whenever it plays, because I just have it typed into my left ear right now, and it's crazy loud. Badger said, "This is my jam." This is not my jam. Any of you guys that know me, this is not mine. This is not the stuff that you're going to find on my music list. By the way, the new IRS T-shirt that I have out, 87,000, and it says down at the very bottom, how many boxes of ammo is that? You can find this at ballisticink.com. Again, ballisticink.com. I'll try to remember to pull this specific. So you guys can't hear me. All right, I muted that real quick. Here we go. 10 seconds. That was loud.
I think the federal government knows that it loses on Second Amendment grounds. That is super important. We're the Armed Attorneys. Today we're giving you an update on Texas's Made in Texas suppressor bill, the lawsuit that the state of Texas has filed against Merrick Garland, against the head of the ATF, and the litigation that's playing out against the federal government. Stick around, because we're going to talk about where we see this litigation going, also what the federal government is like secretly telling us about Second Amendment and what they think they've got to battle going forward based on New York State Pistol and Rifle versus Bruin. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button. So, Richard, let's kick it off. What's going on?
So to start things off, we have the Texas Made in Texas suppressor bill. This went into effect September the 1st, 2021. Now, to give you an overview of what this looks like, this is modeled after a few other states. Montana, Kansas had tried something like this previously. But essentially what this bill says is for suppressors that are wholly made of parts from the state of Texas, maybe you have some significant parts from other places, but these we're basically legislating our way into saying, hey, the Commerce Clause does not apply to these items. Therefore, it would not necessitate obtaining a tax stamp and pre-authorization from the ATF. Now,
right, the federal government can't even regulate.
Right. But what made this a little bit different than what we saw in Montana or we'll say Kansas specifically, because we said, hey, the way that we go about in determining whether this law is valid or not valid is by obtaining injunctive relief, in obtaining a declaratory judgment, basically a green light from the court saying, yes, Commerce Clause doesn't apply here, and you're good to go. Now, compare that to what we saw in Kansas, Emily.
Yeah, well, and Kansas, and I will say, if you are interested in a more detailed breakdown of the Made in Texas suppressor bill and comparing it to these states, we do have a prior video on this that hopefully will flash up on the screen right now, or will at least be linked in the description. You can check those out. Kansas did not have this kind of pre-authorization requirement. These guys in Kansas just said, woohoo, let's make some Made in Kansas suppressors. They did. Where are they now, Richard?
Yeah, they're in big trouble. They were faced with criminal charges. They may be out of prison by now, but there was a big criminal proceeding arising out of that. Now, Montana changed its strategy a little bit. They added this declaratory judgment provision, but were unsuccessful on the merits because they didn't argue that it violated the Second Amendment. They argued this on Commerce Clause grounds only. And so that was a big, tip off to Texas and how we needed to formulate our law. Now, we have pending litigation in the Northern District of the state of Texas. Texas's Attorney General Ken Paxton has sued the federal government, saying, hey, we do not think that the NFA is valid with regard to suppressors. We think that it violates the Commerce Clause, but we also think that it violates the Second Amendment. And this was probably on track to be a quick death. I don't know. How do you think this would have played out prior to New York State Rifle and Pistol?
I think a quick death. I think you're absolutely right. It is, I think was, let's say, a tough sell. But so this case was filed. It was originally styled Dettelbach versus Paxton, or Paxton v. Dettelbach. The name changes as new acting heads of the ATF crop up. But what we had was in February, this original petition. Well, of course, in June, we had New York State Pistol and Rifle versus Bruin.
Yeah, so new life.
New life. So they amended their petition. The court gave them leave to amend their petition in light of the Bruin case, which of course gives us a far more favorable review of anything that potentially violates the Second Amendment that the government could possibly throw upon us. However, the federal government has responded. They filed another motion to dismiss this case, and they've done something very, very clever. So should I just dig into it?
Yeah, well, tell us what the Ken Paxton's position is.
Ken Paxton's position. This is basically a pure Second Amendment argument. This does not, there is no history and tradition of regulating, your right to bear arms that could possibly justify, the NFA in general, but specifically this particular notion that you must pay a tax and register before you may either, make or possess
and
a suppressor.
And what Emily's talking about is the new standard by which we judge these Second Amendment infringements. We look at the text of the Second Amendment, we look at the history and tradition of the regulations surrounding at the time that the Second Amendment was adopted. And is there a place here where the government could legitimately regulate? And it's a very, very strict standard. It's a one-step test. Is this conduct covered by the Second Amendment? If yes, move on to government needs to explain itself and really clearly articulate why they should be allowed to regulate it. So Ken Paxton's done a very good job there, but what has the government said? Okay,
I'm glad you're letting me talk about this, because this is I'm so excited by this. So what we have is the federal government, I think, telegraphing that they know that their anti-Second Amendment arguments now are losers, because they aren't really arguing on Second Amendment grounds at all. What they're doing is they're arguing, there's a law, right, that says you cannot file for essentially injunctive relief on a tax issue. You can't sue the government and say, I'm not paying your tax. And there are exceptions to that. But basically, they're saying, look, you don't fall under any of these exceptions. You're suing us to not pay a tax, right? Because the NFA, of course, includes a tax paid.
Yep.
So you can't sue us. This case has to be dismissed. It has to go away. Interesting if true.
Yeah.
Right.
What does their Second Amendment argument look like?
It is, I'm not kidding. It is a tiny little paragraph, takes up this much space on the paper. And it is two-step, basically. Step one, suppressors are not wearable arms. And so the Second Amendment does not apply to suppressors. And so our New York State Pistol and Rifle versus Bruin standard does not apply to suppressors. What's the snag in that argument?
Yeah, unfortunately, the ATF, that would be a complete, reversal of their position, and the National Firearms Act itself, because they say just by virtue of this act, these are going to be considered firearms. So it's a very interesting.
It's in 921. It's in 18 U.S.C. 921.
Yeah.
Firearm means.
Yeah. Bold move cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Right. It means silencer or muffler, I think, is what, So, you can have it one way or the other way, federal government, but I don't think you get both.
And their second argument, what is that?
Oh, so the second argument, slightly more meritorious than the first, is, well, okay, maybe suppressors are firearms, but even if they are, the National Firearm Act isn't really a restriction on this firearm, because we're not telling you can't have one. We're not telling you can't build one. We're just saying there's stuff you got to do first. So it's not truly a restriction.
There's another word for jumping through hoops that comes to mind. It jumps out at infringements. That's what we call that. So I don't know if that one holds too much water. Now, what we're waiting on currently is the Ken Paxton. He's been given an opportunity or extended opportunity to respond to this motion to dismiss. We're still kind of in a holding pattern, but even if, let's say, the court rules with the government in this situation, we still have a very long fight ahead of us going on to the Fifth Circuit and maybe eventually the Supreme Court if they are not applying these standards fairly. Because I think it's a little bizarre to, if you regulate an area, it's both covered by firearms and tax law. You intermingle these things to say, okay, well, just because, it's covered by two subject matters that you're not entitled to relief, and so I just don't see that holding water.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe in the district court, but I would think the Fifth Circuit is going to smack that down. But interesting arguments, and even more interesting than the argument, I think, is just the notion that I think the federal government knows that it loses on Second Amendment grounds. That is super important.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens.
But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button. And this is huge. Help us fight that anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please question and comment below. Keep telling us what you want us to break down, what you want to hear about. It's really important to us. It's how we pick new videos.
That was good. That was really good. Let me get that out of here real quick. Remove that from my stream. All right, fellas and ladies, if you guys had a chance to watch that with me, very interesting. I'm not sure. I'm going to go back and read this, watch it again, I should say, just to pick up on any kind of new things. But the things that I look at on this was that the wording that is within the lawsuit in Texas there is very interesting to me. And the one thing that sticks out to me and continues to stick out to me, and I think a lot of you guys see it as well, is the fact that we remember how when they rammed Obamacare down our throat, that Roberts was one of the people that allowed this to go through, and it had something to do with it being called a tax and not being called a tax. It's not legal to tax a constitutional right. That's why that is the single thing that I stand on about how the NFA is unconstitutional. Doesn't include anything else that we argue about the Second Amendment. Just the very fact that we are taxing a Second Amendment right, whether it be any of the GCA or NFA items out there, anything out there that relates to that, whether it's an SBR, anything to do with these stabilizing braces that they're trying to make now, something or anything like that that requires you to pay a $200 tax to have permission to possess it is unconstitutional. I don't need to be an attorney to know that, right? You don't need to be an attorney. All you have to do is understand that the Constitution does not allow. Are we going to tax the First Amendment right? So if you want to say a dirty word, now do you have to pay a $200 tax to get a stamp to say, oh, cool, I got my stamp in. Now I can say fire in a crowded theater, which, by the way, and I don't have time to go into it in my book, everybody says about the Second Amendment not being absolute, that you can't yell, that the First Amendment is not absolute either, because you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You can yell fire in a crowded theater. You can. That phrase has been misconstrued for decades. That is not accurate. You can absolutely yell fire in a crowded theater. You cannot yell fire in a crowded theater if you are trying to incite a riot or a panic. That is the reason behind it. You can absolutely, I could walk into a theater right now and just go fire. And if there's 3 or 4 people in there, turn around and look at me and go, what? Oh, I'm just kidding. There's no fire. If I'm not trying to incite a riot or a panic, it is absolutely legal to do that. The First Amendment is absolute, just like the Second Amendment is absolute. So that argument is bogus. And again, if you go back and do any research on it, just the research that you find will say that this is not an accurate statement and never has been an accurate statement. And it will say why. Again, guys, I talk about it in my book because I try to debunk some of the stupid things out there. Just totally asinine to have that comment out there. Since a lot of you guys, I'm not trying to pimp my book out, but since a lot of you guys ask, I am going to put out here where you can get my book. You can go out there and take a look at it if you want. But anyway, guys, the armed attorneys is where I just premiered that last video from. Hopefully you guys will check them out. I think that they do a great job of breaking things down. Again, they are legal counsel for Gun Owners of America as well. So I do have a lot of trust in those guys. So check them out if you get a chance. Sub to their channel. They do a really good job out there. Their channel is growing. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Friday night. What was the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys? Oh, I've got a video that I'm just about to click public for that is involving the person or the organization yesterday that supposedly, allegedly told Mr. X in my video from yesterday to simply turn over all of his stuff to the ATF if they came calling and asking for that. And that does not seem to be an accurate statement. I spoke to the organization today. I reached out to them and they were kind enough to give me their official statement from the company concerning that and enables me to clear all that up. So if you guys would stand by in about 5 minutes, less than that probably, you will be able to watch that same video because I uploaded it just prior to this live stream. Thank you guys for hanging out for Monday. All of you guys that kicked in to me during this live stream, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys doing that. You have no idea how much I do appreciate that. I hope you understand that I'm not good at showing my appreciation sometimes. And this is my way of trying to come right out and say that. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to keep doing this, guys. Try to get that information out there. Got a lot of videos to come out this week, and hopefully we can shed some light on a lot of what's going on. The biggest thing right now is awareness. We're aware that the ATF is doing what they're doing. We're aware that the ATF is bullying people. I want to make this very, very clear. Very clear. This is not legal advice because I am not an attorney, so that's my disclaimer. The ATF cannot take these things from you by just asking. You do not need to give your stuff to the ATF if they come asking. That's not the same as a warrant. Right now, they are not serving warrants. They are simply coming, asking people to give their stuff to them. Don't do it. Don't give them your stuff. This is not legal advice. I'm just telling you from attorneys I've spoken to, if they do not have a warrant with them, you do not have to give them a thing. Don't even speak to them. Tell them thank you in whatever flowery terminology you want to use. They can leave. Contact an attorney ASAP. Do not try to handle this yourself, guys. I know attorneys are not free. So that may be where you make some decisions on what you need to do or whatever. But nevertheless, don't try to fight this on your own, guys. Contact somebody and get some advice from someone. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.